U.S. Senators Cory, Gardner, and Michael Bennet formally introduced Colorado's own Neil Gorsuch at his Senate confirmation hearings this week. Senator Bennet has yet to say how he will vote, but he did say in his introduction that two wrongs do not make a right, citing the lack of hearings for Obama nominee Merrick Garland. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced on Thursday that he will vote no and lead a filibuster effort. Amy, how do you think Republicans will respond to the threat of a filibuster?
I don't think they'll care. Seriously, I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. And that was Harry Reid unleashing it with the circuit court. And you know what? In Court of Appeals, I think there will be a period of, we'll allow you to filibuster for a little bit, and then we're just going to go ahead.
And go ahead, meaning
yeah, go ahead with the vote. They're going to do that. They'll go the nuclear option, which has already been done. The precedent was set, and by Harry Reid, and now they're going to continue it. The one thing, though, that I would say on this, Bennet is right that two wrongs don't make a right. I would also say there is no such thing as a permanent political victory. Everybody at the time thinks that we're going, Harry Reid, we're going to do the nuclear option and it won't ever come back to bite us because everybody loves us at this moment. There's no such thing as a permanent political victory. So go into it with your eyes wide open.
Eric, it seems that Bennet is in somewhat of a pickle because you have Gorsuch coming from Colorado, not necessarily winning any new friends with the confirmation hearings, but no major spoilers came out that would have doomed his nomination. And you have the Senate Minority Leader saying there's going to be a filibuster, but didn't necessarily demand that here's all the Democrats coming with him. So the Schumer seemed to have left some wiggle room for him. Bennet usually keeps his moves close to the vest, and at the last minute will play the smart move. Where do you think he goes?
I don't know where he goes. I think he's accentuated the pickle he's in by maybe waiting too long. The Denver Post ran a very strong editorial this morning on Michael Bennet, on his predicament. And we've all known that Bennet was on the hot seat here. That was my first comment on the night of Trump's nomination of Gorsuch was, watch what Michael Bennet does. I think Michael Bennet would have been better served to either pick one course or the other, but to pick it before now. You're right, Dominic. Bennett's the kind of guy who likes to play it close to the chest, likes to wait until late. But sometimes if you wait until late, you wait until it's meaningless. This is an opportunity for Bennet to lead. He is very much cross-pressured here. Democrats are aggrieved. Democrats are enraged, both about the outcome of an election that they never saw forthcoming and about the treatment of their nominee, of Obama's nominee, Merrick Garland. So the base is upset, and the base will tolerate no compromise. On the other hand, he represents Colorado, and this is a Colorado boy. We've only had one Coloradan in history serve on the Supreme Court. This would be number two. He more than acquitted himself decently during the hearings. It is hard to find flaws in his credentials. This is all politics. It's not about Neil Gorsuch. And then again, it was all politics, and it wasn't about Merrick Garland. I don't know how Bennet goes, but it's time to get off the fence. It's, you're paid as a U.S. Senator to make a decision. Make a decision. Yes, we know you're cross-pressured. Fortunately for Michael Bennet, he was just reelected. He doesn't have to worry about it for another 5.5 years, so that gives him some freedom. I personally think he ought to use that latitude probably to talk caution to an enraged Democratic base and represent his home state and represent a fine and decent Coloradan. But we'll see if he does that.
Susan, Michael Bennet has a variety of constituencies here to look at, whether it's fellow Democrats in the Senate, Coloradans as a whole, as a state, or pride in having a Coloradan again beyond Byron White being on the Supreme Court, and then his base here in Colorado among Democrats who may not want anything to do with approving any nominee coming from the Trump administration. Where do you think his ear will go?
Well, I want to add one more set of constituents to that, or constituencies, which is Michael Bennet has ties with Phil Anschutz. He used to work for Phil Anschutz, and Gorsuch is very heavily tied with Phil Anschutz. So that's a whole set of pressures in and of themselves. I think he has signaled where he's going. I agree with Eric that he's waited pretty much too long at this point, but he sent a strong signal when he said two wrongs don't make a right, like Amy said. And I think that just is a sort of precursor for where he's going here. That said, I think what's getting discounted in all this conversation, I mean, it's always framed as a sort of tit for tat, right? Two wrongs don't make a right, tit for tat on the part of the Democrats. You know, the argument for not giving Garland the hearing under Obama was that Obama a year ago was a lame duck. There's a legitimate argument to be made, albeit a political one, that we've got an administration under investigation for what comes very close to treason. And so, you know, being several months, just having months left of your administration versus being under investigation for treason, you know, I'm not sure that there's more of a mandate to have Trump fill this vacancy than there was for Obama. And in some ways, even though I agree with Amy that the Republicans won't hesitate about using the nuclear option, there's a good argument to be made about just waiting.
Patty, this is not Michael Bennet's first trip to being in a political pickle. This has been with other votes, other healthcare votes, other issues in the Senate. From all the different angles that we've seen from this one, where do you think he goes?
Well, I think he's going to represent the constituency of grown-ups who are rarely mentioned in Washington, D.C. these days. You know, it is time to move along. Unless Trump is impeached and thrown out of office, which is not going to happen quickly, we're going to need to have a functioning Supreme Court. Bennet said he wanted to wait and see how Gorsuch did during his hearings. I think Gorsuch did about as well as we could possibly expect. He's got great credentials. He mentioned mutton busting. I mean, how can you not love that? He acquitted himself very well. He got the surprise on the autism decision we're going to be talking about a little later, but he looks like he would be a grown-up on the Supreme Court. It's time to at least move on with some of that, and I think Bennet will.